available at a later date. You can share it with your staff or other folks who might be interested. And are there any questions about the process or use of the chat? Or you are muted because there's so many of us on one call, on one WebEx. It'd be difficult to have audio all of you, so we're using the chat to communicate. So questions? Let's begin. For this time together is to review parenting styles, parenting practices, and to time looking at childhood development and temperament as it affects parenting. In an hour, we will touch on these topics. There's much more to learn, as with anything that we do on a webinar. If you're interested in more, or if you want to see my references, I can send them to you after we're done. So the topic for today is parents' role in promoting healthful eating and physical activity. So I'm a placeholder for all of those influential adults in a life. So about parents, other caretakers, teachers, families, babysitters, and see the kind of character include. So while saying parents throughout this, an easy way to talk about it, really does encompass all of those adults that have influence on our children. So caretakers, why are they important? Gatekeepers. And they influence and have a great effect on the food resources that come into the household. Basically the ones that are doing the shopping and making food decisions. Here are food preparation. So intuit in our food resources and the food landscape, there are folks that make discipline. They're establishing routines and traditions. And they generate a lifestyle for the family. The children talk about them today are the learners in the household. They respond to the environment and they react to situations. Now, when I say children, I mean, we're talking about infants to teenagers. As kids mature, they're going to respond and react differently. And we're using the term child loosely here today. Working with parents, well, this succinctly states what we're concerned about. Certainly healthy eating, and active lifestyle. That's a bad goal. And we're working with low-income children. We're working with low-income parents. How is through dialogue and collaborative action, and we'll talk about that in a minute. All adults in the life of the child who should be environments where children live, learn, and play. So we have quite a large job on our hands. We talked about the social ecological framework for nutrition and physical activity. And so to remind everybody is the framework that ANFA has embraced to represent how they see our work in food intake and physical activity for our program participants. So it guides the work of FNAP and NAPAG and food and nutrition programs under the umbrella of USDA. This is how they characterize our work publish dietary guidelines to explain to the world how it is we see our work in the community we operate. So, creation of the social ecological framework or the social ecological model, and it articulates how we do our work and where we do our work. So we have these concentric circles, and you've seen this graphic many times, I'm sure, talking about how and where we get our work done. It's about that model that people would want to pose in the chat. Okay, so where might parents have a role in this? This is USDA's model that they share with the world about how they do their work and, by extension, how we do our work in SNAP-Ed. So where do parents figure in this model? Share chat. Comments. I'm hopeful that you all have in your head understanding of how we do our work, and that last time we must have covered that really well. So typically, the curriculum that we use focus on individual behaviors. We ask parents, and we'll be taking very gently from the Healthy Children, Healthy Families curriculum that we have here on campus. It's being used widely in FSNAP, and it's been a real eye-opener for our staff and our parents. So there's a lot of work from individuals out there in these, and a tremendous amount of work from staff and FMEC here on campus. A number of curriculum that deal with children and work on individual behaviors that we want to see improved in children. And many of you out there have used Choose Health, which is another product that was developed here on campus. I'm just highlighting two, but there are any number out there in the world in the toolkit, the SNAP-Ed toolkit, that you could choose from. Cooking, playing, voluntary activity, how to interact with others. You see these things addressed for parent and children: eating, snacking, healthy seasonal things to do, and like sort of new to our thinking is a discussion of screen time and how to minimize that, because we know it interferes with activity. So pretty good, I would say, at addressing that. But in particular, we have opportunities to work beyond that. So, as I said, this history of work on individual behavior change and tracking that. But there's other spheres. Home and family environment. That's what parents or caretakers have tremendous responsibility for. Then, that our children spend lots and lots of time. So, we're coming on a new school year, spend a tremendous amount of time outside the home, in school, in daycare, with other environments we need to be thinking about. We need to broaden our look. And community places that our children spend time. So what might those community places be? What are those community environments? I need you to add those to the chat. So those environments that you might have worked in or that you might want to work in. And I have recently been working on your REAIM projects and REAIM paperwork, so I know that you've been thinking about 2 of those places in the chat. Super great thing. Influences, summer programs, rec programs, feeding sites. Absolutely. Head Start is another place that children have lots and lots of time. So thanks for that, those places and those suggestions. So parents have a lot of work to do. Switch gears and talk about parenting styles and parenting skills. So past, or at least with some of our FNEP folks, about learning styles. And I would equate sort of approach to parenting styles the same way we talk about learning styles. Those are broad categories that we parents under. It's a tendency, like a learning style. It's like a personality trait. It's hard to measure. It'd be hard to change. But all have a tendency towards a certain style. We can end that style. We can be more thoughtful about the things that we do because we have a certain tendency to go one direction. But we know with learning styles that people adapt and adopt. So we have kinesthetic learners in the group today, but studying to this kind of presentation, which is auditory and certainly visual. So we might have a preference, but we work around our tendencies to improve how we do business. On the other hand, are specific strategies or behaviors that we see parents in the way they interact with their children. They're very specific. They're easier to describe. We can actually teach a skill, and you can learn a skill. And I think this term skill might be also difficult for some folks. I think that their word to use is practice. So there's some parenting practices that we can teach. There's certain learn to apply. And so it might be a more comforting language to use. And so it might flip between skill and practice as we talk about this today. But I think that you get the idea that there's a parenting style or a preference or a tip folks might have that's innate. And then certain behaviors or skills or practices that we can impart and help parents practice and test out. Styles can influence how well parenting skills work, but teaching parenting skills or practices also influence the style. So let's talk a little bit about parenting styles. Styles are described in two ways, and we're going to talk about that. And we can go from less visible practice, more visible practice, but there are two domains, there are two areas. There's firmness, which can be really lax on the left-hand side and very specific and strict on the right-hand side. So as you go from left to right, you're more firm. And then firmness, which can be toward 0 point here, responsive at all, or as you arrow towards more responsive, you're reacting frequently and intensely to what this child does. So, as describe parenting practices in the next slide, there's a balance. There's a balance with how people apply firmness and responsiveness, and there's a balance with what firm and responsive reactions you might want to take to a certain behavior. So, when might it be appropriate to be very firm and direct as a appropriate and necessary. So please, chat box, the kind you would want your parents to be firm. Personally, when the child is in danger, and as well, when the child is in danger, there's really no discussion. You really want to make them behave or pay attention or move in a certain direction out of danger, whatever the case may be. So exactly right. There's really no discussion. We need action, or they need to be aware of something. So when would you want your parents to be the most responsive? When is it appropriate or necessary or totally understandable that a parent be very responsive or very responsive to the child? So when a child is hurt, you back to that in a positive way. When they're frustrated, with not understanding what's going on, you want them through that and be responsive. You want to their feelings, yes. So times when, no matter what your parenting style, it would be either very firm or very responsive. And the reverse would be true. The times when it's necessary to be firm, it's necessary to be responsive, and so kids can have to feel that out, and the situation might dictate some kind of response. Across the street, you have to hold my hand. There's discussion. Being firm about this. This could be this could be just what we do at the crosswalk. Every time we go near the street, you're holding my hand. The parents to be firm. So that's avoiding danger and avoiding catastrophe. So this is a parent is responsive. You asked me to join in this game. Can we go out and play? Sure. Really glad you asked me to go out. So not only is she going out responding in action, but she's responding in words. The child's not sick. It's a very responsive sort of great kind of reaction. Forces that when we talk about parenting. So let's specifically talk about parenting styles as they're described in the literature. And these are very formal titles. We are not using these with parents, but it's for your background. So, authoritarian parent, an authoritarian, an indulgent parent, and full parent. These are the broad umbrella categories that are used in literature to describe parenting styles. So as background, the words are necessarily that important, but the relationship to firm and responsive parenting is important. This description. So this style can be the phrase, do as I say or you'll be punished. It's my way. So, children be obedient because of the way that the parent is describing the situation and what they want. So the child will be obedient to conform, but when separated, they could act up or act out. In terms of this can lead to overeating or undereating. So, each one of the few things the child can control, and to act out against the parent, that might be kind of a elaborate if the parent is so controlling. Authoritarian, the authoritarian style is sort of filming, and you see from the little the big elephant is throwing the little elephant into the air because it's my way or the highway. So to firmness and responsiveness, parent, but they are. It's another style, characterized in such a way that in our family we have rules and we're all expected to live by them. So give you help and support to live by these rules, but nonetheless, they're rules. So parents' case set high expectations. They interact, they do things together, and they have a high degree of warmth. So the rest of this really is that children have a healthy attitude towards food, and likely will also have a healthy attitude towards physical activity. So the authoritative parenting style. And this is a responsive style. It's moderately firm. It's firm because we're going to live by them. But in that, the area of support that we will help you live by these rules. Excuse me. And this is characterized by anything goes. And I love the picture. The child is using some kind of marker on the paper, on the table, on the wall. I think there would be some on the window. So my color in the answer is me. So there are a few limits or rules in the child's behavior to expect and misbehave to discover the limits. So this child might not be misbehaving, but because there were no limits, they took advantage of, can I go color in the room? And clearly they did. Indulgent. Permissive. And it's really because very few rules to be firm about. And that's style about is negligible. Does set limits, but then doesn't respond to the behavior, so is non-responsive and not very firm. So is an extreme work of rules, an extreme action towards the child. See it very often, and it can be very dangerous for both and the child. It's just our ethic. And take that. So we have a sense of what firmness might be in real life. So first could be rules, and we're going to live by them. And responsiveness. So the child being positive about what's going on. So in terms of those four categories, parent really doesn't pay attention to the child's needs. It's not responding to the needs, and there are no rules. So the respectful parent is in this low quadrant, really involved and unconcerned. The permissive or indulgent parent is, and they're running sort of in the way that the child wants them to, is not firm about rules. In fact, a few rules, and so what the child wants pretty much could go. So an authoritarian parent has rules, and they're parents' rules, and they're not up for discussion, and responding to the requests or the needs of the child. So they're very much less responsive and very much more firm. And the place you want to be is middle. There's a reasonable amount of firmness, a reasonable amount of responsiveness, and that authoritative parent, and authoritative style. So as I said, we're not going to use these terms with parents, but it puts it in context for you when you're looking at the literature or looking at the background of some of the curriculum and products that we use when they describe how they either put their curriculum together or how they think about the theory behind how they created the product that we're using. Very important to know. Affirm parent. So when we are working with our parents in real life, what we would want to see about a firm parent. If it's a firm parent or a firm household. So expectations, to follow limits, this helping the child with the expectation, enforce consistently, and that is challenging for parents for sure, and always staying calm. So it might operationalize or describe parents in our world. Are there questions about this sort of characterization from out there? Are there questions you want to raise at this point about the firm parent? Okay, so let's a responsive parent. What things we might see out in the world about that a responsive parent might do? So the responsive is that you're paying attention in a positive way. You're listening to the child, responding to what they need in the case of being sick or injured, what they say, with how they're trying to express themselves, either with words or facial expressions without words. A response should accept their child. They might not agree, but they accept, and they all respect their child. And an important aspect in discipline, you don't like the behavior. It doesn't mean you don't like the child. And so parents need to sometimes sort out those feelings about behavior or misbehavior and sort out the words that they use when they respond in a negative situation. And then a responsive parent helps their child solve problems. It might be an aspect that our parents in the world might not have thought about. So teach the child for goals, or things about trying fruits and vegetables. You know, I don't like cooked carrots. Well, you have raw carrots, and they're pretty great too. And so problem solving for the parent, but then looking at different solutions with the child. So I think when we operate or when we're parents, these are things to keep in the back pocket about how to approach the child and how you might want to respond to the child. Practices and operationalize themselves. And we have 4 categories of parenting practices. This is we teach healthy children, healthy families. So those of you who are familiar with healthy children, healthy families, this will be something you can share that with your SNAP Ed folks. And hang up on this because I think this is really helpful. So there's people, and there we'll talk about all those examples, how we as adults might people with the children in our lives. We call it showing. So there's lots of ways to show children how to operate more, eating more healthfully, and be more active. There are a lot of supporting are feeling good about themselves and the behaviors that they choose. There are ways we can guide our children and more parents a decision-making process to choose positive things within the limits of what we are given their age. And lastly, we can help parents shape their environment. We can shape the environment as educators to make the choice the easy choice. We've heard that. How do we make the healthy choice the easy choice? So in your classes, how do you make the healthy choice the easy choice? Type in some examples. So what would you offer to others on the webinar to make your particular classes that create opportunity to make the healthy choice the easy choice? Okay, get kids involved in a group, or get your kids involved in food prep. Sure. What you do to make it more positive. Super. I want to make sure people were on board because it's very to have responses. Emphasize healthy behaviors they already do. Sure. I think, and would be teaching. Yep, by example. So let's go in a little bit more detail. Guiding first. So, under guiding that we're going to talk about, but one of them, and it's an easy way for you to remember, and try, move your child in the right direction. And what you do is, if I want swimming, and you have a pool and you're not going to go down to the community pool, you could say, well, you skate on the skateboard, or can play a swing set. Really want to go swimming. The parent way, again, and ride board or the backyard, and repeat and repeat. Now, what does that do? It's the child's choice. They're making their individual desires to surface, and a win-win. So in this case, is physical activity. The child gets to go swimming because that presents challenges for the parent, and the parent can tackle right now. But they can play in the backyard. Willing to do. So the key to this is to provide two options that are doable. The food, this comes a lot. I want ice cream for dessert. Well, grapes and we have watermelon, which we like. What might you do? Even if a child said, no, I don't want that, I want ice cream. So the parent challenge is to say, grapes, we have one. You can have one or the other. Which would you like to have? Well, watermelon. Which would you like to have? And that's practice. That's this can do represents. It's offering a choice and a decision. Allow a child to be the leader and pick the same thing, but it presents, a win-win situation, and they're both very positive choices. So that last slide where we had firmness, the bottom item was be calm. I think this is where we need parents to be calm. Many repetitions, and so some folks have characterized that as the broken record technique. So after many iterations, the child hopefully grapes or watermelon. Another component of guiding is division of of responsibility. And this is a concept that comes up a lot when we're talking about the feeding relationship. And this is challenging for some parents because it puts the child in the driver's seat for the amount of food eaten. So the responsibility really means the parent, in terms of mealtime, accountability to put a meal in a routine way at a consistent time. The meal would consist of age-appropriate food, and food in places for young children that can't handle knives, food that the child could chew if they're just teething, that kind of thing. So age-appropriate food in a consistent pattern, so the child is ready to eat and has an expectation of eating. The child is in the driver's seat in terms of full as to how much food is eaten. And so parents have often said, well, I did all this work to put this on the table and the child didn't eat it. This is the Clean Plate Club, and many of us were possibly raised with that sentiment. So a happy child sitting down at mealtime with a lovely salad and a lovely bowl of soup. So in the scenario, the parent has created a lovely eating situation. It's up to the child to consume as much salad or soup and crackers as she. That responsibility only knows how hungry she is and how full she will be when she consumes a reasonable portion. So where we get into those discussions about I can't waste food and I can't create several meals for all family members, and that's not the intent here. We assume in this picture that the rest of the family would be having soup and salad, but that in a reasonable amount of time, how much is consumed. And then we move on. So at time, we're assuming this is lunch. The family would sit down together, have a lovely meal, and the child would decide. So the other thing for parents, I think, is the worry that my child won't eat enough, that they're only eating soup and not salad. What about important things that we get in fruits and vegetables? Maybe something that happens when children are transitioning from liquid food to solid food. When the food consumption, the calorie consumption from day to day for a young toddler, for example, can vary by 200%. So that means one day they're eating 1 or 2 meals. The next day they're eating 200 calories more. That's a lot. Or eating a great deal of food. The next day they're eating 200 or 300 calories less. Very expected. That's consistent mealtime and age-appropriate food so that a habit developed, a sense of hunger and fullness, hunger before the meal, fullness during the meal, you stop eating and you put it down and you ask to be excused, or whatever the family routine might be. So, example or role modeling. So all have a role in role modeling. We can be influential adults as providing education, as essential caregivers and as parents. This is a revelation to parents at some point that whether that or not, they're a role model. First teacher, and see how interested this particular child is in what the mom's eating. Either he or she doesn't exactly have the same item, but there's certainly a lot of interest there. So, conscious of this or not, they are role models. Sometimes this is a harsh a thing for parents to come to grips with, and we have to slow the idea or gently introduce that idea. People admit, I don't eat anything green. I want my child to eat something green. What steps could we take? What are the strategies we could work out to make that work? So, aspect of parenting would be supporting skills. Skills are practices or behaviors that really encourage the child and the atmosphere. And so talking to parents, this is where you encourage the behavior you want repeated. In this case, this positive, wow, you can run fast. Not fast for a 3, you can run fast compared to your team. Wow, you can fast. And so, again, child feel good about themselves might not be something that parents have experienced in their own life. And so framing it in a way that you can encourage the behavior you want repeated. Frame it. And so there are steps to helping parents get to the point where they can encourage the behavior they want repeated. First of all, they need to recognize what that is. So, it could be something as simple as, I really like how you're sitting at the table very quietly. Come up with a positive phrase. Really, you're sitting at the table. It really is when I'm preparing dinner, something of that regard. Are there any about supporting those? Go on to shaping. Shaping makes the easy choice, the healthy choice, and I had some examples a while earlier that you posted. And find solutions with others, because as we said before, children are away from the home under other adults. So in this example, there's an older adult with a younger child. So that could be the babysitter, it could be the grandmother, it could be a neighbor. Atmosphere, prepare sweet corn for dinner. This is, looking at beyond the individual behavior. So for adults, talk to adults about these individual behaviors to be more active. All of us, we're probably all in buildings that are multi. Maybe that's not the case, but we can part away from work or take a step when we have the opportunity with our children, or walk children to school. So that's something we establish at home and take out opportunities outside the home. School might be one. And how do we create that time for physical activity? It's not that the school allows the time, but how do we as parents support the school in creating the time for that? And in our re-aim sheets, what are things in our community that we could work on with parents to create, for example, to walk to school, parks, sidewalks, that kind of thing, out of the realm of individual behavior, something that involves shaping the environment with influential adults. So it's also true around this idea, for just one idea, eating more vegetables. So of course, try them or prepare them as a parent, and you can encourage in classes children to prepare, cook with you, prepare different kinds of vegetables and different methods, using the methods. You can agree to serve, one vegetable or keep vegetables on hand for snacks. That's a really good home activity. Again, parents can look at what's going on in schools or participate in school wellness programs, or encourage that with the schools that you're working with. But then we take that beyond that individual school. We can take it out into the community for more people and more shape the environment that we all live in. Have about the shaping practice. A comment? I want to back into the firm and responsive parenting and take a little look, actually, at realistic expectations. And this is what children can do and how they can cooperate with us in eating and activity behaviors. So I diverge a little bit and say that my work has been pediatric when it comes to childhood eating, and we're in other places. And the challenges for parents is to see the newborn baby as different from them. The tendency is to see the child as a miniature reflection of themselves. And it's important for parents to realize how different. They have different physiology. They can't eat solid food. Now, you can, the teeth, number one, but two, that their digestive system, is not as developed as an adult. So the reason why we delay solid food, it's not because that's the program. It's because there's a physiological reason why we delay solid food. This difference in physical growth, sit up. Newborns can't sit up. So asking, when can I introduce solid foods? I really want my baby to sleep through the night. Well, there's two going on. Certainly the parent needs sleep and rest, and so does the child. But the mark for serving solid food has to do with physical growth and development. So we do solid food before the baby can sit up and hold its head up with a spoon, and it can swallow food. So typically, when we're talking about development and the feeding relationship, again, this goes back to Ellen Satter's work, but you have a baby that can physically sit and so it won't choke and swallow, because the suck reflex is much different than the swallow reflex. Children are born one breast milk, a liquid, and swallow liquid, not to gum a solid. So we have to wait for the child to grow to a point where we can add more solid food. As I said, parents like to them that their child is a mini version of themselves. So it's a temptation force maturation on a child when it's really not possible. We know that children need to learn to be able to make decisions. They need to have limits. We're not the same as adults when it comes to risk behavior. So it's a young child that we have to wait for physical growth and emotional maturity to catch up. It's also with teenagers. Teenagers don't drive until they're much less risk-averse than adults, and that's from child development. So I think things in terms of realistic expectations for parents is a really important part of our work. In terms of dealing with parents is to see the child as an individual. Parents have this tendency, if they have more than one child, to expect their second child to behave the same way the first one did, or the tendency would be to compare their child to everybody else's child. Every other 2-year-old I know is doing X. Every 6-month-old is doing Y. Well, children in terms of their physiological maturity, their skills, ability to handle things, and their emotional development. So we have to think about every individual. And you've heard parents say going through a phase, that they're going through a stage. And we do go through stages. We do go through phases. It takes a while for us to go through that. We're not carbon copies of each other. The other that feeds into this discussion is everyone has a certain temperament, qualities that are unique. We react differently to stimuli. Some are naturally less active. Some of us regularity. We like routine. Others are comfortable with the routine. It's readily to change. But I have many staff for whom change is threatening, even if it's good change. Routine is not a comfortable thing. React with a different level of intensity to all stimuli in their environment. You've had adults, children the same way. We all have different moods. We know people who are morning people that wake up with a face. We know people who don't wake up until it's lunchtime, and those are without coffee. And that's just the way we are. We're very distractible. It's very challenging in school when stimuli distract children. Across the board, there's a level of persistence. Some school children will sit until every math problem is done. Others will not be so persistent. We know adults that are like that too. And that are very sensitive to all kinds of stimuli. Clothing, temperature. So roll with it. We don't come with a label. We come naked, and we have to learn how to react to our environment. And parents need to learn how to interact with their child, or how to possibly understand their child better. They're different. They're not behind necessarily. It's just their growing. And so we have twins on the top. So the top picture, they're cute, so adorable. We have twins on the bottom slide. Yes, and but personalities, different temperaments, obviously, different views and likes and dislikes. They probably skill set. They evolved as adults, or adults anyway. Different. It's bad, it's different. And that's challenging for parents. So we don't know exactly what parents are dealing with in terms of how distractible, how moody, how intense their child is. I'm going to parents and get their sense of it, but I think knowing that all of these things are going on behind the scenes is really, really important. about these slides. We could spend a lot of time on childhood development. It's an interesting area. But I think that helping parents be realistic about the age and stages of their child is, parents want to do, my experience is parents want to do the best job possible and the way that their child is reacting. We just help them through it. Okay. This grand scheme that we've been working through. So parents and children in their home environment, and parents to us usually asking about, or we're usually teaching about, you know, make half your plate fruits and vegetables, making half your grains whole, all kind of individual behaviors that might take place in the home when you're feeding your child. Also exposed to environments outside the home. Modeling opportunity. We have opportunity to variety of parenting practices. That's something to help our parents with. We also have this opportunity to help them create a healthy environment in the home. It can be a healthy choice for everyone in the home. And then opportunity to help parents influence the environment outside the house. So skills and ideas and get a little bit more useful environment everywhere. So environment outside the home. So we talk, which is really role modeling. You can model specific behaviors, but we know that parents are role models. That's we do with the child and suggest supporting for parents. We can provide ideas about guiding the child, give ideas about how they might guide in the home, ideas and help them shape the environment, both in the household and out of the home. So this is a grand picture in terms of parents' role. It's also a grand picture in how we see our own work in SNAP. Certainly, let's say, we have this charge to work outside the home. What questions do you have at this point? Okay, John. I will just say that again. I do have a question. Okay. So here's some realistic opportunities we advocate for parents to shape environments outside the home. That's the question. And I turn it around and ask for those of you in bed, what are your suggestions? Suggest some ideas about that question to Caitlin. Thank you. That I know many of you have worked on in the past and are working on now. So the suggestion from Tina is to work with schools to eliminate unhealthy vending machines. in the school, say, either through the school wellness committees as they exist, or possibly that's something that you can work with sports teams. Maybe they are getting the in vending machines or sports booster clubs, and they talk to them about healthy vending machines or healthy options within the vending machine. So certainly that's a really great place. We had previously about working with Head Start. So what that are offered? Do parents agree with them? Are they representing healthy choices that the parents could support? So I hope another one, refer parents to see a registered dietitian for individualized help. Certainly, with a child with issues, I would have them seek a registered dietitian if that's something that is beyond what you want to tackle. Within the class, I have an opportunity to shape that environment with parents. And sometimes what we do in our classes in FSNAP, we give parents a choice. So we would suggest for the next meeting and 2 snacks, and the parents to vote on what snack they would want for kids the next time, to pick and shape the environment for the next time. Another suggestion, if you have to eat out at a fast food, and a vegetable as a grab and go, plant it to their sandwich instead of French fries. Milk and not soda. So that's the can do. You have water or milk. What would you like? It gives the child an opportunity to pick a healthy choice. It limits the realistic choice. You're eliminating the negative choice. So this slide, it summarizes everything we talked about. And you continue to think about those opportunities in your teaching and in your work in the community. It's in the home, guide, support. They are a role model, and they help you shape the environment and environment to supporting and healthy. That very brief and very light of many topics. So you to post any questions you might for me or the group. There will probably be opportunity for more. Well, there are 2 more webinars. One in September. I know a very important topic for those of you working with parents and challenged by parenting issues. So if in the chat, I would be willing to take questions directly. And we have of our staff in FNEC that have much more parenting experience that I have questions to. I recommend that you take a look at Healthy Children and Healthy Families if it's available to you. It's not approved for SNAP, but it has wonderful, for those of you in FSNAP for whom this is I invite you to share your knowledge and some experience with folks in your program, because you've had a wonderful exposure and experience. So, seeing no more questions, we have gone an hour. I will be sending you an evaluation shortly after the webinar closes. I'll be posting this as soon as we can technologically make the technological connections to get it up on the website and send you the link to. I'll send the link to the program. Your Fed program leaders, and I'm trusting that they will share that with you and with your colleagues. So wait one more minute for any questions. Any questions on any topic? So I share any questions right now in the chat. Your attention and time, and I'm hoping that this is useful and helpful. There will be an opportunity to just for future webinars in terms of the format, content, and the methods that we're using at this point. This is alert for all of us, so I'm hoping, number one, that it's helpful and useful and that we can improve as we go forward. So thank you for your time and attention, and with that, we will sign off. I hope to be in touch about the next webinar shortly. Thank you.